You're sitting in a cafe somewhere in the Middle East. You've been here for 6 weeks. You've ordered the same tea, sat in the same corner, read the same style of newspaper, different editions, same performance. You are background noise. You are wallpaper. You are nothing. The man 3 tables away has a $25 million bounty on his head. He doesn't know you exist. Nobody does. Not his security detail. Not the 2 men watching the entrance. Not the woman who swept this cafe for surveillance devices 40 minutes before he arrived. None of them have registered you. Because you are not a threat. You are not a soldier. You are not an intelligence officer. You are just a tired businessman who drinks too much tea and reads newspapers nobody cares about. Your phone buzzes once. 1 word. Green light. You don't look up. You don't scan the room. You don't let your jaw tighten or your shoulders shift even 1 millimeter. You fold your newspaper with the same bored energy of a man who just remembered he has a conference call. You leave exact change on the table, the kind of detail that sounds small until you realize that a man who overpays or underpays is a man someone remembers. You check your watch. You stand. You walk out. Not fast. Not slow. Just a man heading back to work. 45 seconds later, you're half a block away. 90 seconds after that, the windows of every building on the street shake. Car alarms start screaming. People freeze, then panic, then run toward the smoke, because that's what civilians do. They run toward the disaster. You keep walking. Tomorrow, the official story will be a gas leak. The intelligence community will know the truth, but they won't know about you. They never do. Because here's the thing that nobody in that cafe understood. The thing that the man with the bounty never figured out. The thing that his counter-surveillance team completely missed. You don't exist. You never did. Here's the question nobody asks. How do you build a weapon you can never acknowledge? You can't post a job listing. You can't hold interviews. You can't run a background check on someone whose entire value is that they have no checkable background. So the system works in reverse. They don't find candidates. They find ghosts, people who are already operating at a level that most governments don't believe is possible. Delta Force operators, SEL Team 6 veterans, CIA paramilitary officers, Green Berets who spent years in countries that officially had no American presence. People who've already done things that will stay classified until everyone involved is dead and buried. The top 1% of the top 1%. And then someone approaches them. Not a recruiter, just a man. No uniform. No rank. No business card. He looks like an accountant who coaches his kid's soccer team on weekends in suburban Virginia. Soft handshake. Forgettable face. The kind of person you'd struggle to describe an hour after meeting them. That's not an accident. He sits across from you and asks 1 question. How's your Arabic? You tell him it's decent. You learned it in Syria, in Yemen, in the places that don't make the evening news. He slides a single sheet of paper across the table. No letterhead, no classification markings, just text. The offer is simple, and it is the strangest job proposal in the history of employment. Disappear completely. Your military file will show a transfer to a training command in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Something so boring that nobody will ever pull the thread. Your family will believe you have a desk job. You will miss birthdays. You will miss funerals. You will call when you can, which will not be often. If you die on a mission, there will be no body returned home. No flag on a coffin. No 21-gun salute. No obituary. Just a single star carved into a wall inside a building in MC Lean, Virginia. A building you will never be permitted to visit. No name beneath it. Just a star. The man looks at you and asks, "Are you in?" You say yes. You have no idea what you just agreed to. 3 days later, coordinates arrive. A location somewhere in rural North Carolina. You're genuinely not certain which county. That ambiguity is deliberate. You arrive and begin the strangest military training program on earth. Here's what makes it strange. They don't care what you can already do. They don't test your marksmanship. They don't run you through obstacle courses. They don't care how far you can ruck or how long you can stay underwater. You proved all of that years ago. That's why they found you. What they want to know, the single question the entire selection process is designed to answer, is whether you can disappear. Day 1. Surveillance training. You're handed a photograph of a man. Average looking. Brown hair, medium build, the kind of face that exists in every city on earth. Your mission. Follow him through a city for 8 hours without being detected. Don't let him see you. Don't let anyone see you watching him. You've tracked insurgents through Baghdad. You think this will be manageable. You fail in 2 hours. The instructor shows you photographs afterward. Photos of you, taken by people you never noticed. A woman with a stroller counter surveillance. She spotted you 3 times. Once when you crossed the street slightly too fast. Once when you checked your phone at a moment that didn't match your supposed purpose. Once when you made eye contact with a shop owner who was also part of the exercise. Start over. You fail again. The target walked into a restaurant and you hesitated at the door for 1.3 seconds. A professional would have walked past, looped the block, waited. That hesitation was a signature. Someone noted it. Day 3. You wear the same jacket as the previous day. Someone remembers it. Exercise over. Day 5. You walk too confidently. You move like a soldier. Soldiers don't blend into business districts. Start over. Day 7. You finally complete the exercise. 8 hours, 0 detection. You feel something close to pride. The instructor hands you a new photograph, new target, new city. Harder this time, this target knows he's being followed and is actively trying to catch you. This continues for 6 weeks. You learn to rewire your body. You change how you walk, how you hold your shoulders, how you enter rooms. You learn that a baseball cap makes you memorable because it creates a silhouette. You learn that gray is the most invisible color in the human visual spectrum. You learn that people remember faces but forget bodies, so you learn to make your face forgettable and your body unremarkable. Average height, average build, average posture. You learn to weaponize mediocrity. The language training is even more disorienting. You don't simply learn languages, you learn to inhabit them. For Arabic, that means learning not just the Yemeni dialect and the Sana slang, but the specific hand gestures used in specific port cities, the way men from different tribes position themselves in chairs, the football arguments that would mark you as local versus foreign, the phrases that function like accents revealing exactly where you're from if you get them wrong. They make you watch soap operas, game shows, news broadcasts from target countries. You have to understand references to events from 30 years ago. You have to know which actor caused a scandal in 2003. Which politician's nickname is only used by people who grew up in a specific neighborhood. You spend 3 hours learning to drink tea correctly, not the taste. The performance, how you hold the glass, how you blow on it, when you set it down, what that sequence communicates about where you grew up. Get it wrong, and you are instantly foreign. And a foreigner asking the wrong questions in the wrong city doesn't go home. Then they drop you in a city with no money, no identification, no weapons, no support structure, and no extraction plan. Your mission: survive for 1 week and complete 3 objectives. You sleep under a bridge. You steal food and feel guilty about it. Then remind yourself this is training. You befriend a local businessman by telling him you were robbed, a story that's both sympathetic and just plausible enough. He buys you dinner and introduces you to his circle. You spend the evening filing away information about people you'll never meet again. You pass. Barely. The washout rate is 90%. Not because the candidates are weak. These are among the most capable soldiers who have ever lived. They wash out because they cannot become invisible. The man who naturally commands a room, gone. The man who needs to be acknowledged when he walks in, gone. The man who's too tall, too handsome, too memorable, gone. They keep the gray men. The ones you can share a room with for an hour and genuinely struggle to describe afterward. Average in every measurable dimension. Extraordinary in every way that can't be quantified on an intake form. There is no graduation ceremony, no photograph with a commanding officer, no certificate. Someone taps you on the shoulder. You receive an address, a plane ticket, and a new name. Welcome to the unit. Its actual name changes constantly. Gray Fox, Task Force Orange, the Intelligence Support Activity, the Army of Northern Virginia, Central Spike. By the time any outsider connects one name to a real operation, the name is already changed. That's not bureaucratic inefficiency. That's the architecture of deniability. The entire organization contains perhaps 200 people. For context, U.S. Special Operations Command has roughly 70,000. You could fit your entire unit inside a hotel ballroom in Arlington, Virginia, and still have room for a cocktail hour. 2 branches. HUMINT, human intelligence. That's you. You go places, you become people, you build relationships with sources who don't know their sources, and you extract information through conversation rather than coercion. Then there's SIG and Signals Intelligence, the technology side. They can track a phone across a continent. They can intercept encrypted communications through methods that would require 3 security clearances to explain. Here is how it actually works. SEAL Team 6 kicks down doors. Delta Force raids compounds. The Rangers seize airfields. These are the units that get the movies made about them. But before any of that happens, before the helicopters lift off, before anyone racks a weapon, someone has to find the nail. That's you. You find targets. You map networks. You locate safe houses and identify bodyguards and establish patterns of life. Then you hand off the coordinates and disappear. The operators get the medals. The operators get the book deals. You get a classified file that will stay sealed inside a building in Langley, Virginia for 75 years. Your first real mission takes you to a city in North Africa you will never name. The target, call him Hassan, which is not his name, is a financial architect. He moves money for terrorist organizations across 3 continents. He has never built a bomb. He has never pulled a trigger. He has never personally placed an IED along a convoy route. But his money has killed hundreds of Americans, and so he is, in every meaningful sense, more dangerous than the men who did. On paper, he is a successful businessman. Import and export, real estate, consulting. He files taxes. He attends charity events. He also sends $5 million a month to people who manufacture suicide vests. You arrive as Klaus Richter, a German businessman in industrial machinery parts. Your cover is not just a story. It is a life. There is a website for the company. There is a secretary in Munich who answers the phone, takes messages, and has absolutely no idea she works for American intelligence. For 2 months, you do nothing interesting. You go to the gym. You eat alone at restaurants. You attend business conferences and hand out cards for contracts you'll never sign. You establish yourself as the most forgettable person in the entire city. Then you begin to appear in his orbit. The gym he uses 3 times a week you join. You never look at him. The mosque where he prays on Fridays you attend. Pray in the back. Leave before he does. The cafe where he takes tea every Thursday you become a regular. Same corner. Same order. Same newspaper. You never approach him. You never speak to him. You don't even establish eye contact. You just exist nearby. A ghost in his peripheral vision. By week 3, you know his schedule better than his wife does. You know his driver's name and the license plate from memory. You know about the woman he visits on Tuesdays. You know about the man in the expensive suit who meets him every Monday at lunch. Everything goes into encrypted reports that bounce through servers in 6 countries before reaching Fort Meade, Maryland. Then something shifts. You notice a car appearing too frequently. A man whose posture doesn't match the neighborhood. A pattern that breaks the ambient logic of the street. The target has counter-surveillance running. He's careful. He has survived this long for a reason. You create distance. You adjust. You become even more invisible. Within 48 hours, SIGINT has cracked his phone. They are reading his messages in real time, watching his money move across accounts in Dubai, Luxembourg, and the Cayman Islands, mapping his network from the inside. And then a courier arrives, a nervous man with a leather briefcase who takes 3 separate taxis and doubles back twice through the city. Amateur-level counter-surveillance. You've seen far better. He checks into a hotel. Room 412. That night, a team you will never meet enters that room. The courier is drugged. Every document in the briefcase is photographed page by page, then returned to exactly the position it was found. He wakes the next morning. With a headache he attributes to jet lag. He delivers the documents. He never knows they were copied. 1 week later, $40 million in terrorist financing is frozen across 6 countries. 12 arrests. 3 attack plots dismantled before they begin, a shopping mall in Chicago, a subway in Washington, D.C., a hotel in Bangkok. Your name appears on none of it. You were never there. The mission that consumes you longest is the bomb maker. Code name, the engineer. 200 American deaths attributed to his work. Possibly more. IEDs that shredded convoys in Iraq. Car bombs in Kabul. Attacks in European capitals that dominated headlines for weeks. He is the most wanted man in the world that the American public has never heard of. The CIA has a dedicated task force in Langley working this case. The NSA has monitoring programs burning through budgets the size of small countries. 3 years. Billions of dollars. Satellites, drones, analysts working 20-hour shifts. Nothing. They send you. You cannot find him directly. He has spent years making himself unfindable. So instead of looking for the man, you begin looking for the shape of the hole he leaves in the world. You find his courier, the man who carries his messages, and trace him through Turkey. You find his doctor, the one who manages his diabetes, and locate him in Jordan. You find his financial handler through his brother in a mountainous border region. Over 14 months across 3 countries and 3 separate identities, your team builds a complete web. Every thread leads to another thread. Every person leads to another person. In Turkey, you are a journalist researching refugee displacement. You attend international aid conferences. You buy drinks for people who move money in ways that don't appear on any ledger. In Jordan, you are an aid worker distributing medicine to remote clinics. You ask about a doctor who used to work here, the one who now treats special patients who pay in cash. Everywhere you go, you listen. You never ask directly. You let people talk. You remember everything. The breakthrough comes from a single intercepted call. A lieutenant mentions a guest arriving soon. A village in the mountains. A compound that's been quiet for years but recently shows signs of activity. You go in as a journalist covering post-conflict reconstruction, your credentials traceable to a real American newspaper. Your references checking out perfectly. You live in that village for 2 weeks. You eat meals with local families. You drink tea with elders. You file stories that will never be published. And from a hillside half a kilometer away, you watch that compound through a lens that looks exactly like a camera. Vehicles arrive at night, leave before dawn. Guards rotating in 4-hour shifts, 2 at the gate, 2 on the roof, a patrol every 90 minutes. You photograph every face. One hit comes back from analysts at Fort Meade, the target's brother. A man believed dead for 5 years. If the brother is there, so is he. You relay everything. GPS coordinates accurate to 1 meter. Guard rotations timed to the minute. Entry points. Vulnerabilities in the perimeter wall. The best approach vectors. The escape routes. You are told to leave immediately. No explanation given. You pack your bag. You say goodbye to the village elder. You thank him for his hospitality. You shake his hand. You tell him you'll send a copy of the article. You walk out. A car picks you up. You're across the border before nightfall. 72 hours later, you see the news. A military operation. A senior terrorist leader eliminated in a remote location. The country's government issues a formal protest. The State Department issues a formal denial. 2 operators didn't make it out. Somewhere in MC Lean, Virginia, 2 stars are carved into a wall. No names beneath them. The bombs stop. The IEDs stop. For a while, at least. The mission you are not supposed to be able to describe is the extraction. A nuclear scientist. A hostile regime actively developing a weapon capable of killing hundreds of thousands in a single afternoon. Every diplomatic channel exhausted. Sanctions. Back-channel negotiations. Talks that drag on for years in Geneva, while centrifuges in underground facilities spin without pause. But there is intelligence suggesting the scientist is not a true believer. His family is being used as leverage. His daughter's school is monitored by state security. His wife is followed everywhere she goes. He is not building this weapon out of ideology. He is building it because the alternative is unthinkable. Someone in a secure conference room in Washington asks the question quietly. What if we got him out? Not killed. Extracted. Him, his wife, and his 2 daughters, the youngest of whom is 7 years old, and has no idea what her father actually does for a living. No military assets. No official government involvement. No acknowledgement, ever. If you are caught, you are a criminal operating without any sanction whatsoever. The United States government will not only deny the operation, they will deny you exist. Team of 4. All unit. All ghosts. Contact is made through the scientist's daughter's piano teacher, an operative embedded in country for 3 years, waiting for exactly this kind of moment. The message passed to the scientist is stripped to its essentials. 1 night, 1 chance. Trust us or spend the rest of your life building weapons for people who will use them on cities full of people who never did anything wrong. He says yes. The operation moves on a night when a power outage engineered remotely by a SIGINT team working out of a facility in San Antonio, Texas takes down the electrical grid in the relevant district for 11 minutes. In the darkness you move. Forged documents that cost $50,000 and 4 months to produce. A border crossing managed through a guard who believes he is facilitating a simple smuggling operation. A boat crossing a body of water you will never identify in any debrief. 8 hours in complete darkness on open water. The youngest daughter gets seasick. You hold her hair back while she vomits over the side. She thinks this is an adventure. You let her believe that. You tell her she's brave. She is. 2 weeks of safe house to safe house, moving every night, sleeping during the day. Every car that slows down could be the one that ends everything. Then a dirt airfield in the middle of nowhere. A plane with no tail numbers and no airline markings. Handshakes with men who don't offer names. The scientist is debriefed for 6 months at a secure facility outside Washington, D.C. He provides everything: diagrams, personnel files, facility locations, complete timelines of a program that took 12 years and billions of dollars to build. That program is set back by a decade, possibly more. No bombs, no war. Millions of lives that would have ended in a flash of light continue without interruption. The family receives new identities. A house in a quiet suburb of Seattle. The little girl will grow up American. She will go to a normal school and have normal friends and argue with her parents about normal things. She will never know how close she came to a world that ended. You go home, which is to say you receive new documents, a new cover identity, a flight to your next city, and a new name to memorize before landing. The years accumulate in ways you eventually stop counting. 17 identities, 12 countries, 37 operations. 4 moments where the math said you should have died, and something luck, training, instinct said otherwise. The marriage ended quietly. She couldn't build a life alongside a man who disappeared for months without explanation, who couldn't say where he'd been, who came back slightly different each time, quieter, more careful, flinching at sounds that shouldn't matter to a man with a desk job in Kansas. She got the house in Columbus, Ohio. You got a studio apartment in Northern Virginia that you've slept in maybe 30 nights total across 4 years. Your son is 14. You've missed 6 of his birthdays. He knows you as the father who's always traveling for work, who sends gifts from cities he can't name, who calls at strange hours from numbers that don't match any area code he recognizes. You dream in Arabic now. Some mornings you wake up and cannot immediately remember your real name. You have to find the passport, the actual one, the one with your real name, and look at it until something settles back into place. This is the price. This has always been the price. Nobody hid it from you. The man with the soft hands and the forgettable face told you exactly what you were agreeing to. You said yes anyway. You're in a cafe now. Washington, D.C., as it happens. A quiet neighborhood place, not far from DuPont Circle. The kind of spot where nobody pays attention to anyone else. You're just a man with graying hair reading a newspaper. The kind of face that people look directly at and somehow fail to retain. A young man sits 2 tables over. Fit. Alert. Trying slightly too hard to look casual. He holds his coffee at the wrong angle. His posture is too precise for someone supposedly relaxing. He checks his watch 4 times in 12 minutes, not the behavior of someone managing a schedule, but someone managing their nerves. You spotted him in 3 seconds. He's watching someone across the cafe, learning the craft, probably fresh out of training at a facility he'll never be able to name, convinced he's invisible. He is not invisible. You could teach him things that would change how he moves through the world forever. How to use window reflections instead of turning your head. How to time your movements to traffic light changes, so your pace looks purposeful rather than calculated. How to make yourself so forgettable, so aggressively gray, that people look directly at you and their brains register nothing worth storing. But you won't, because he doesn't know you exist, and he never will. You finish your coffee. You fold your newspaper. You leave exact change on the table. Outside, the sun is shining over the streets of Washington, D.C. Couples walk past holding hands. Children are heading somewhere with backpacks. Staffers in suits are staring at phones, walking toward buildings where decisions are made that will eventually require people like you to clean up the consequences. None of them know. None of them will ever know. Somewhere right now, men and women trained exactly the way you were trained are sitting in cafes, in cities you cannot name, under identities that don't exist, inside organizations that officially never happened, keeping a world safe that will never know their names, and would struggle to believe they exist. No monuments in their honor. No entries in any public record. No acknowledgement of any kind from the country they serve. Just a star on a wall inside a building in McLean, Virginia. No name underneath. You stand. You button your coat. You walk out into the afternoon light. Just another face on a Washington street. Forgettable. Invisible. Gone.